Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today, we're going to review the Philida DE11 WR500, homage to a Rolex Deep Sea James Cameron. Let's start out with the wrist check. Since we're doing a deep sea watch, we're going to do a deep sea wrist check. I'm wearing my Phoebus Leviathan, which is a 500-meter dive watch with a helium escape valve. And Greg was wearing my Neymar 300-meter dive watch with a helium escape valve. Grogu was talking to Obi-Wan Kenobi's Force Ghost and asked him how he was able to hide from Darth Vader for all those years. He said he had a device that alerted him whenever Vader was nearby. It was his Darth Vader evader. Alright, let's take a look at the watch here. It comes in this box, and it comes with 4 extra links. That's right, I had to remove 4 links to wear this watch, so you'll be able to wear this if you have a huge wrist. Well, let's take it off the pillow, and here it is. The Submariner was designed for recreational diving, so Rolex eventually came out with the Sea Dweller, designed for the more rugged demands of professional divers, including a helium escape valve for saturation diving. The original Sea Dweller was 500-meter rated watch, which was eventually bumped up to 1,220 meters, which is far more than any human needs, as the record dive is 700 meters. Well, for grins and giggles, Rolex came out with the deep sea version, which is rated at a ridiculous 3,900 meters, which is so beyond practicality that is mind-boggling. It's like owning a car that can go Mach 3. What is the point, especially since the basic Sea Dweller accompanied the 700-meter record dive? Purely a bragging rights kind of thing. Well, Rolex no longer has the bragging rights for deepest depth rating on a mass-produced watch, as Omega just released a 6,000-meter Planet Ocean. In 2014, Rolex came out with the Deep Sea with a black dial that turns into blue. This was in honor of an exhibition James Cameron took to the bottom of the ocean, and it became known as the James Cameron. This Philida looks like a Rolex Deep Sea, but is only rated at 500 meters, which is still very impressive for a $150 watch, and I don't think you're going to get anything deeper from AliExpress. It also has a working helium escape valve for saturation diving, although as one of the world's most macho professions, I wonder if there would be a certain amount of ridicule if one were to show up on anything other than a prestigious brand. This Philida only came with the James Cameron dial. You can also get a sterile dial, and you can also get a rubber strap. The rubber strap is fitted, which is always a nice look, but has a traditional buckle instead of a clasp, so I would stick with the bracelet. Also, this is a really heavy watch, so I have a feeling it is going to be too top heavy on the rubber unless you like to wear it really tight. This is also a limited edition, but Philida must have made plenty of them since it's been out for quite a while, and the price is not high or anything, so they're not scarce yet. If you don't like the James Cameron dial, there's also the DE12, which has a black dial. You can also get that one with a PT5000 for an additional $35. The watch is 43.3 millimeters at the bezel, 52.4 millimeters lug to lug. It's a whopping 17.5 millimeters thick, has a 21 millimeter lug width. Yes, you heard that, 21, not 22. And weighs 221 grams on the supplied bracelet with 4 links removed. The bezel is a 120 click unidirectional with a ceramic insert. This is a fully loomed bezel, as you shall see in the later loom test. The bezel action is solid clicked with no back play, none whatsoever, but it's a bit stiff, and I wish it was just a hair lighter, but everything lines up just nicely. Then there's this inner ring here. It says helium escape valve, and then it says limited edition. This is not what it says on a real James Cameron. So I'm glad, because the real James Cameron mentions something about some kind of interlock system, and I'm sure this Philida does not have an interlock system. That's why the James Cameron can go so deep. So I'm glad they're not lying about it. Some homage watches put the same text as the real watch, even though it's not true. And the dial is supposed to represent the ever-darkening deep sea, how it goes from black to blue. And there's no sunburst effect, because you don't want it to be shiny. You want it to be dark and deep like the deep sea. I just wish it was more blue on top. If you look at a real James Cameron, there's a lot more blue to it. This was kind of disappointing there. Then it's got Philida printed on top, and you can get a sterile if you want, but I never do. Then it says automatic in green on the bottom. Automatic is where deep sea would be on the real thing. And then it gives the water resistance of 1,640 feet, 500 meters. And that, once again, that is more resistance than you'll ever need. Has applied loomed indices. And it's your typical Rolex style handset with the fence post minute hand and the Mercedes hour hand and the lollipop second hand. It has an unsigned screw down crown. It's a fairly big crown with significant crown guards. And it unthreads nicely, but it takes a lot of turns for it to unthread. And the pop's not huge, but there is a pop. But screwing back down, though, it catches nice and easy. But once again, it just takes a lot of screws to get it back down. But it's got good crown action. Then it has a double dome sapphire crystal. And this is why you see so much reflection. A dome sapphire crystal is just going to reflect like crazy. Then it's got a solid steel case with polished sides and brushed tops and bottoms. And this is a nice case. Then if you look at the case back, it is solid steel, but it's got this black thing in the middle. Some kind of black coating. I don't know what it's really for. It's a 500 meter watch, so you're not going to get a display case back, not at this price. Then it says all stainless steel. Then it says automatic, water resistant. Then once again 500 meters, which is still quite impressive for an AliExpress watch. Then, of course, we have this helium escape valve. You only need that if you're a saturation diver, and I just don't picture saturation divers wearing this Philida. They'd be wearing tunas or real sea dwellers, or even possibly a Tudor Pelagos, but not a Philida, not in one of the world's most macho professions. Then underneath the case back is an NH35 movement. We're all familiar with the NH35. It's a 24 jewel movement that hand winds, hacks, and has a bidirectional rotor. So there's no real rotor noise, unlike a Miyota. And this is a really good movement for the price. They're very accurate for the price. And they're just, I mean, it gets a little old describing the NH35 because they're so common, but really that's the one you want at this price range. So let's go ahead and take a look at the time grapher. Keep in mind that just because whatever this runs doesn't mean yours will. Here it is on the time grapher. As you can see, this one's running rather slow for an NH35. They usually run a little fast instead. I prefer fast and slow for a hacking movement because it's a lot easier to reset a fast watch than a slow watch, because a fast watch you just pull out you just hack it and wait for time to catch up, or a slow watch you have to actually adjust the hands. But it's still not horrible considering the price. And look how smooth that line is though, so it's going to be fairly consistent. The bracelet has solid end links, and then it's a 3-link, but it's not fully articulating because the center links are attached to the side links, and the center links are brushed and not polished, which is good because it just gives it more of a tool watch look. Instead of screw pin adjusters, we have push pins, and that's fine because I kind of prefer push pins anyway because it's a lot easier and less chance of them ever coming out while you're wearing it. I've had a few screw pins come out while I was wearing them, and even lost one for a couple weeks until the wife found it in the carpet. And then we have a clasp that is got a pressed upper but a milled scissor here. And we only have 3 holes of micro adjust though, because there is a diver's extension. So you kind of have a little trade-off there because of the diver's extension. There was no room for a 4th hole. And sometimes I think I'd rather have the 4th hole than the diver's extension, because I'll never use the diver's extension, but I probably would use the 4th hole. And a wash this big and heavy, you do need the perfect fit. But then again, though, these links aren't huge. Yeah, I mean, they're big links, but they're not super wide. But it's a nice bracelet, and I like it, and I like the clasp. I don't need a fully milled clasp, especially at $150. Here's the watch on my 7.5-inch wrist. It's a big watch, and it's heavy, but it wears lighter than it should, because at 220 grams, this should feel like a tank on your wrist, and it really doesn't. Yeah, it's big. You'll notice it, but it wears surprisingly light for its size, and I like it. I've been wearing it for the last 3 or 4 days preparing for this review, and I've never been bothered by the sheer size of it. Just wearing the watch, I knew it had great lume, so I had really high hopes for this test, and I was not disappointed. As I speed up the time, you can see that the lume is first rate, and you also have this very impressive fully lume bezel. What's funny and a bit ironic is the lume pip isn't as good as the surrounding lume triangle. Also, the bezel is a hair better than the hands, but still, this is really good lume. What do I like about this watch? Well, you're getting a 500 meter rated watch for $150. That's a pretty good bargain. I really like the looks. It's a nice looking watch. It does look a lot like a James Cameron. And the lume is incredible. It's just as good, almost as good as that steel dive I just reviewed. And it doesn't wear like a 220 gram watch. So what are my gripes and groans? Only 3 holes of micro adjust. When a watch is this big, you really need the perfect fit, so 1 more hole would have been nice. I wish there was some more blue on the top of the dial. And the bezel action is pretty stiff. And I don't like the fact it has a coin edge case back, so you need the special tools to open it, and you can't just open it with your typical case back opener. But really, my gripes and groans are fairly minor. Do I recommend this watch? Sure. This is a big, bold, in-your-face type of watch that still wears so nice. This may not be rated for 3,900 meters, but at 500 meters, this should take anything you throw at it. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Filleta DE11, homage to a Rolex James Cameron Deep Sea. And I will be back with another unboxing. I just got an alert in my email today saying something arrived, so I should have an unboxing next. Be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.